What's up and welcome back, guys, to another episode of All You Can Eat Warriors. And it's great to be back with you this evening, especially here. I am in the sunny Queensland. I'm in the same state currently as my man Ash, and it's great to be here. Ash, how you been, my man? And how's your week been? And how you feeling?
Yeah, all goods, bro. All goods over here in the sunny state, as you are as well. So you already know how it's like. And as I said, like for an Aussie to continue to say it's a little bit cold over here. It is getting a little bit nippy for you, but you're probably, you're acclimatized as you are, come from New Zealand. You're probably like these Aussies, mate. They don't know what they're talking about with the cold. But I would say the one thing, I already know that Queensland feels like home for you. You know, the home state of the underdogs. You know, just like the Warriors, right? Like New South Wales Rugby League, Australia Rugby League doesn't want to know about us. You know. Similar to what Queensland been doing for years, mate. So, but welcome, mate, to the beautiful state of Queensland.
Beautiful, man. It is fantastic, guys. I am here on holiday, as you saw. I was down in the beautiful Sydney Harbour. Just did a bit of content there, and but man, it is beautiful here in Queensland. Just the weather was fantastic today. I used to live here, in fact, so I'm used to it. It is definitely feels like home, my second home, man. So I appreciate you, Ash, man. Welcome in everyone in the chat. We appreciate you guys all. I am operating on a laptop, so I don't have multiple screens. I might not be able to pull up all the comments, but you get what you're given. So let's have a good night, everyone. But we see everyone in the chat, all of our channel members and everyone that's in there. But man, let's start off, Ash. Look, people will obviously want to talk about it, but let's start with the reflection on the Broncos game. I know myself personally, I shared a little thoughts, but let's dive deeper into it, man. What were your thoughts on the game being there, seeing it, witnessing it? What were some of the key points you took away from the game?
Yeah, being there and watching it live, I felt like that first half, I think we did really well to hang in as much as we did for that period of that first half. And I was speaking to you about this before, but I feel like there was a lot of key moments in this game that could have swung into our favour and swung into the Broncos' favour more so than not. Like, I think we had that, 10-0 for a long period of time. Then due to a penalty, I think it pushed out to 12-0. And then that last try before half-time, if we were able to hold that out just a little bit, it would have been 12-0 going to half-time. And judging by how the Warriors came out of that second half and, checking on some stats and stuff like that, I felt like the second half, we definitely cleaned up a lot of our errors that we had in the first half. I still feel like discipline was a problem in that game, whether it was more so on the ref's discretion, this and that, right? Like there's a lot of discussion around that, but I felt like we were ill-disciplined in some moments in that game, and it probably took away from what we could produce out in our football field, especially with ball in hand. I felt like we lost the ruck quite convincingly in that first half. Just the Broncos had such a quick play to ball, whether, again, going back to just the referee's discretion in some areas there too. Like, I felt like we weren't able to control the ruck as best we could. I remember a penalty there from Aaron Clark getting his head in close into the ruck. Usually those things don't really go that way, but they end up going that way on the night. But just going back to it, just key moments in this game that unfortunately just fell the way of the Brisbane Broncos. But what I loved to see out there was our scramble defense, and especially when I rewatched it back again, like feeling it live, I felt like the boys' energy was there. It was my wife's first, not the first game watching the Warriors, but just first time with me and her. And after the game, she turned and she's like, they had a massive dig out there, and I was like, I'm happy someone that kind of doesn't really watch footy, she can tell that they put in a lot of heart into that effort. But in a game like this, with a couple of injuries out and that, like we would have loved to come away with 2 points against a very strong side like the Broncos that are finding their form. But on the day, we just weren't up to it comparatively to a Broncos side that was feeling themselves. I thought defensively the Broncos turned up really, really hard in that game. And again, I just go back to, I feel like there was a lot of these moments that hang this game in the balance. If they went our way, I reckon it could have been a little bit of a different result, but I would be saying that as a Warriors fan. Again, the Gossy moment with the cutout pass that maybe it dipped on him a little bit too early. He wasn't in the greatest position to get that pass. That was a key moment there, which could have been 20-18. There was a moment of Chanel Harris-Tavita coming down with the kick and getting held up over the line. There was a moment that you put out earlier with the beautiful shape that we ran, and then just Gossy getting caught in, but Karapani's great defense. Like there's a lot of big moments like that. And one thing I will take out of the game is there is little positives we can still take out of these losses to say that we're not completely losing the plot. Like this is losses, but they're in the game. There's a lot of big swing moments, and all the things that we've been building on this year are still there in the Warriors right now. But there is a couple of issues that we are starting to see with a couple of key members that have been away from our squad or pulled out of our squad that we're starting to kind of pick up at the moment. Hopefully after the bye, Webby kind of cleans up those areas and we can run home fairly strong with some would say a fairly soft draw on the way home.
I just want to touch on, what were your thoughts on Webby's, he kind of first time seen him kind of attack the refs. And he pulled a bit of a Ricky in the second half. I thought that was fantastic. I was cracked up as soon as I saw him on halfway. He's either had a massive, spray in halftime, and he's so pissed off that he had to come in and, do a Ricky. But his explanation was fair too, that he was kind of monitoring the situation. But I thought it was just great to see, even irrespective of what the reason was, it's great to see a coach on the sideline. It gives your fans a bit of an uplift to see the passion. But what do you make of his comments? He kind of did take a shot at the referees. Was it justified that some of the stuff that G Unit, I call him, G Unit, Adam G, was had some howlers. What was your make? What was your make on that?
Yeah, for me, I've always hated the whole argument. And I know you're in a similar boat too. I believe that a game is usually won. The referee can dictate some areas of it, but usually it's won and lost by your defense and holding teams out. You should be better than just calling the referees. But I feel like Webby was definitely within his rights, especially with that key moment in that game there where, we just scored the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck try to make it 18-6. Big conversion there from Luke Metcalf. I think it was a set later that penalty actually came for Reece Walsh, who was about 2 meters offside, close to the ruck, and ran into Jacko. Jacko definitely turned his shoulder a little bit and, gave a little bit, but the first infringement should have always gone down to the offside. So one thing I probably would say on our side of those, we still had the challenge. Whether we could have challenged in that moment, that probably would have been better, and maybe we could have been overturned. But then again, it's up to the referee's discretion. But I think Webby definitely was well within his rights, because I don't think he was excusing the effort or the performance out there due to the referee. But that one key moment was one of those key moments in the game where the momentum was switching over, and instead of just another try to get us back into a one score game sort of thing, it ended up pushing it back out to a 3-score game, which makes it a little bit tougher on the end of the Warriors. It was where our footy starts to change a little bit, right? If it's going back to, let's say we're 18-6, we're going to play a little bit more conservative. If we get another try there, we're going to get back into that arm wrestle of the game. When it's 20-6, you start to notice the boys start to play a little bit more expansive because it's the scoreboard pressure comes on. So it's a different type of game plan that goes into it. So it was a moment that definitely impacted us a little bit. But again, I don't think Webby kind of used it as an excuse. I think he just used it as a learning experience for the referee. Just be like, hey, what's going on there? Because I felt like that was pretty far off course, in my opinion.
Well, my gripes with G was, I thought he was the referee at the Raiders game, and he can be quite strict on the Sixer game. He's definitely one of those ones, and each referee has their tendencies. But, it's not to say blame the ref. It's just saying that there are some influences the game. The Aaron Clark one I even thought was a bit over the top, but that's my own personal opinion. But the ability to swing momentum in this game today is absolutely huge. It can be tough to even pull back, 2 or 3 tries, and then sometimes it's easy to pull back 3 or 4 tries because you're just on such a roll. So who
Yep.
knows? Maybe Kossi catches that one in the corner, and there's a few things that we could probably isolate and say, man, if that just went a little bit differently. I mean, I even, being a bit critical, was like the camera angle on CHT putting the ball down wasn't
Yeah.
quite there to on first movement. By the time the camera had dropped, his hand was up. I thought it came up. That was from the placement.
Yep.
But anyway, it is what it is. Some days it just doesn't fall your way, and I can't really. I'm not going to go down that route. Me and you specifically, we never go down that route of of hating on refs. We believe the refs do try their best, but there were some different ones that I'd probably say,
And to be fair, like, this season in general, like, we've been one of the least penalised sides this season. Like, we've had a lot of, like, sway in that way with the referees. We've had some really good 50-50 calls. So I'm not saying that it's going to, this game, the Broncos were the better side out there, I believe, like, for majority of that game. Their ruck speed was incredible. I thought we actually, while watching the game, I thought Payne Haas did a little bit more damage. But then again, I remember it defensively, he was everywhere in that game. But on the attacking game, I thought we actually did a really good job on a big man that usually causes a lot of trouble. Unfortunately, the other man that took the benefit of that, Xavier Willison, kind of broke open the game a little bit on their end. So Reece, as I said to you last week, I feel like the Broncos have started to found their method to win games. And like, I felt like that was one of the best arm wrestles I've seen the Broncos actually stick into and really do to fight for everything. Reece was playing run first more so than just throwing that 3-man cutout majority of the time. Like, I felt like he was getting the action a lot more, and it ended up proving for the Broncos at the end of there. But on our boys, especially when the ruck speed was going the way it was, the boys were on the back foot a lot of time defensively, so the Broncos were getting nice meters, especially in that first half, because if we go to the second half stats, it's actually flipped towards the Warriors side of things. But the first half, the boys to really hold that into a 12-0 margin before that, last second try of Sibasaki is actually a full credit to what we built this season. And, at home, Suncorp Stadium, dry track with that full-strength Broncos side really attacking the game the way they did. I feel like we did really well in that first half to really hold it in there and gave us all the ability to have some moments later on in that game. And unfortunately, with injuries and that, the boys weren't good enough to bring home. But I'm sure we're going to take a lot of lessons from, especially these last 2 games going into the bye, of some moments and some areas we do need to clean up on. And I do think that our discipline and our ruck control has probably regressed just a tad, probably due to maybe some players and that are like, comparatively, Mitch Barnett being out at the moment. It's been a really tough one there too. I feel like that's starting to show a little bit of areas there too. But quickly before we jump off as well, I just want to, I really do like to emphasize my point here. The first half stats, the Broncos had 60% possession to our 40, and they had 70% territory to our 30. Go to the second half, the Warriors actually switched that to 51% in our favor. And territory, we went 59% in our favor. We got more run meters. We had more line breaks. We had somewhat better completion. We were in there 20 more so. We missed less tackles. So we had a lot of really good moments in the back end of that game to really try and fight home. Just unfortunately, that last try with Sibasaki kind of pushed that margin out really, really late due to, us falling apart with some injuries and stuff, and just our boys trying to, really get the game back in with some real fancy plays. And shout out to Tamati Martin as well, bro. Like, for the guy to come on, people forget in that first half when Wade Egan went down, Tamati went to that hooker role. Like, that was a big key moment in the game as well. Wade Egan was one of our big contributors in our ruck. Then comes the second half, Chance goes down with a knee injury, so he plays fullback. And then he switches around, plays halfback, and he was actually one of the big key contributors to seeing some energy towards the back end of that game, I thought. So shout out to him, and he filled in many of our spots, which is what our system is doing at the moment. So very, very key moment there for him.
Yeah, no, before it's the moments, man, even the I kind of get the call that on Lecker when he kind of went over onto man, but if that was just a yard or two different, we might have had a break. The RTS too looked exciting from fullback. He kind of gave you flashes of, damn, there's some, RTS still got it, and I think he's been one of the most consistent backline players. But just lastly, just on the Broncos while we're there, do we think that the Broncos, that they're going to carry on and kind of prove that they are a good side. I mean, Madge has had its critics. They're starting to show form. Obviously, they'll be feel for don't feel for them, but they are kind of origin. The disruptions are always kind of consistent. Do you think they'll carry through? I mean, what they did show, man. I mean, Haas, Carrick, and that power game was hard for us to deal with, and I'm thinking they might be able to start to carry that through. Do you expect them to continue to rise?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, I'm kind of just slightly jumping on the Broncos bandwagon. Like that two performances, like the Sharks' performance, again, the Sharkies aren't what the Sharks should be, right? But they're still a very good team on paper, and to get out of the lead to what they did, for the Broncos to find their formula and just like play direct football, play off the forwards that they've got. Ezra Mams, taking the line on, causing a lot of options. Reece Walsh is run first at the moment, which is a scary sight to see because Reece's found out that his running game is just as good as his playmaking game out the back of shape. So I think that's really the key for the Broncos. Allow Adam Reynolds to be the wheeler and dealer, him to be the chief organizer, and just play off the back of this young talent they have playing out back. For them on their run home, we're going to be touching on a couple of the comments and stuff later on, but, they've got a couple of, I think they played a Melbourne Storm twice on their run home. I think I'm not sure if they got another Dogs game on the run home. So they have a little slightly tougher draw. I still see them making the 8. For people saying they might make the top 4, I reckon it's probably a little bit of a stretch at the moment for them to make top 4, even though they're looking at one of the key contributors on outside of the top 4 to probably fight in for the top 4 at the moment. But I believe with the run that we kind of got coming home, I think the Storm got a good run home. The Raiders got an incredible run home. Even the Dogs have got a pretty nice run home as well. That I think the top 4 should probably be what it actually should be. And judging off the last year's ladder and how everything kind of played out, it should sort of play out that way. But for the Broncos on the run home, they're definitely going to be a scary side to play against. I think it was pretty fair criticism early in the season for all of the games they threw up there, but we're probably looking at now, when you're seeing sides that are running, Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds, 2 halfbacks, too many chiefs in the kitchen, you know what I mean? Too many, chefs in the kitchen. Sometimes it causes sides to not play their best footy. They look imbalanced. You see the Sharkies dealing with that at the moment. When you've got a side that's very balanced and they're playing direct football, you got the one chief that's, calling out everything and everyone's playing off the back of that. They're going to be a very scary side to run home in, and I think they've definitely found a bit of their mojo right now.
Right, yeah, it's a credit to them, isn't it? Just quickly, we'll go now, guys, onto the wider games. But before we do that, if there's anyone in the chat, we are doing this giveaway for the meet and greet. Type hashtag I'm in the chat, and we should be able to. We'll do a draw at the end of it for two free tickets for anyone that wants to come along to our Wires Up TV meet and greet in July, the 26th of July, 1 to 2:30 p.m. at Lily World's Cafe. We're going to be meeting up there, and we welcome you guys to come along. But if you want to come to that, type hashtag I'm in. Make sure that you can come to the event, or if you're going to get the tickets, that at least someone that you're getting them for can come to the event. But we welcome in to come participate in that. Okay, guys, we are going to just track now to something different. Well, not something different. We're gonna go wider now and break down some of the impacts of this game against the Broncos, and now with the injuries, specifically to our man Metcalfe. Firstly, for me, I'll let Ash go after me, but what a wonderful season he's had. On the verge for me of being one of the star. Well, he's been one of the star halfbacks of the season, and was building a great resume to kind of elevate himself as a consistent 7 that will be a mainstay amongst NRL for the next couple of years. We understand the influence of the ACL injury and how sad that is, and I feel for him and show love to Metcalf and his family at this time. I know it's tough. He's had a bad run of injuries, but for me, he is a great talent. And he's developing. He's done so well. There's been some amazing work that he's done. There's some of his individual brilliance. Though I think it was a Dolphins game or one of the games. He did a little grubber for himself, picked it up, offload to Metcalf, who scored. Capewell, the clutch kick from 50 meters out at home to beat the Broncos. I think it was, or I can't remember. Yeah, There's just been some great moments from him that shows he has potential. Ash, I'll throw it at you. Just your thoughts on Metcalf's season. Obviously, it's finito. There's nothing more he can do for now. But what do you make of his season thus far? And what did he show to you that his future here at the Warriors looks like?
Yeah, incredible, bro. Like, honestly, I could have said all my, I made video of who should be the halfback for the Warriors this season, who's going to be the big contributor, who's going to step up to the plate. And even I didn't expect Metcalf to hit the level that what he hit this season in his first season in that 7 jersey, right? Like, people don't understand how hard it is to go from, a number 6 role and playing eyes up type of footy, more field type of footy, than going to the actual main chief, right? And getting the boys around the park. And then also adding that and also adding your game on top of that, right? With your running game, which is what Metcalf actually, end up producing for us for this season in general. Before the Daily M's went behind closed doors, he was leading the Daily M's, and I probably would say with the period that we had now after probably not the last 2 games, is him and James Tedesco around about there. I'd probably still have him maybe just slightly ahead, because I think before those last 2 games, he had a couple of good ones in there before the Daily M points went behind closed doors. But, we're looking at a guy that I think for me, it's not his athleticism. It wasn't the ability for him to play halfback. It wasn't any of those sort of things for me. It was more of his mindset that I enjoyed out of Luke Metcalf. And, to be incredible, to be great in rugby league, and he's going to get tested again here with his injury, but is to have a great mindset and to always continue to learn and always build on your game. And I think this is what Luke Metcalf has shown, in pre-seasons past. He came out and said, I want to be the 7 for New Zealand Warriors. He dreamt it, he wanted it, and he gone out and got it. He said that I can be the goal kicker. He went it, he did it, he gone out and done it. People would argue, obviously, how good he was, but, he's shown moments where he stole games for us, especially on the back of his goal kicking, right? The Broncos game with the penalty goal at the end, like, big key moments in that area. He stepped up to the plate when he needed to. The field goal against the Dragons, like, this is all mentality, and he believes in himself so much that he's going to learn and continue to grow from that. And I think that's the best thing about Luke Metcalf, comparatively to a lot of halfbacks, is he believes he's great and he's going to fight to be great, instead of just like resting on his laurels and just thinking that his athleticism and his ability is going to take him to the promised land. No, he thinks that he's just going to fight for everything. And I'm sure he's going to do that with his injury as well. He's had this setback in the past with his ACL, so he knows what it takes to get back to first grade. But it's so great to see that, he's going to be ready to go. He's going to fight for every inch of it, and he's going to be come back in that 7 jersey, and again continue to prove people wrong to think that maybe he won't be the guy for us in the future. Who knows? But I think he's proven that already, that he's someone we want to keep around.
Yeah, man, his confidence, like it showed on the field, man, and he did it in his own way, in various. Which I love. I love the balance that him and Chanel had. It wasn't excessive to one certain style. It was balanced between. I mean, sure, at times I felt as though the attack could be a bit more dynamic. But for me personally, I'll take that every day. I'll take a W every day. Doesn't if it's 6-8, 2-4,
yep,
1-1-0. If you get it over the line, I'm happy. Just thinking about what the future holds for Luke. Look, data-wise, what was his winning percentage? You told me a couple of weeks ago it was like 70% or 75% when he plays, something like that.
He's one of our best, especially, for a lot of people at the top, they've only played 3 or 4 games. He's played a ton of games there, and he's had a 70% win percentage with the Warriors, around about that, which is crazy.
Yeah. You can't take that away from him. He even his season's over, you look at his win percentage, his numbers add up when he's on the field. So he has that in his bag. Now let's break it down, the evaluation, obviously, of the injuries. Look, my said to everyone at the start of the year, I want Luke to start, but I want to make sure he gets through a season unscathed. When I meant that, I meant a lot of it were based on hamstring reoccurring injuries. Yeah. We understand that these are ACLs. So they're different injuries, freakish or whatever how you want to call it. The man has had some significant injuries in the past 3 years, but not hamstring, which is for me a good sign. But ACL is a tough one now because it does tie in ACLs. We know with Nathaniel Roach, we know with other players, ACLs can be tricky. But the data shows for me that he should definitely be re-signed long term. And at the moment, he's at the top of the picking list in terms of halves. Now, if you go out and get an Isaiah Katoa or whoever else go ahead and get and then fit comfortably within that. But for now, I definitely would sign him long term. But does that concern you, the injury history, Ash, and what's your thoughts on his progression long term and what we should do with Metcalfe?
Yeah, as a realist, you got to take into account the injury history, right? And I think it was a really key point you brought up before. Especially with the Warriors, he's been dealing with these hamstring niggles, which is, a lot of it due to his athleticism, probably his run style, stuff like that, right? I think he's cleaned up that area. Last year he dealt with a bone break, which is a pretty freak accident. And I think context does have to play its hand in a lot of these sort of chats around injuries, stuff like that. That one he did over the weekend is a very, very rare way to do your ACL. If you check out NRL Physio, he actually breaks it down to say, this isn't a very common case, and it's only happened a couple of times really in the NRL. And the other time it actually happened, I'm pretty sure, in training with Jonah Pezzett, where he did his ACL off of a knock, and it was more of a placement instead of due to maybe cutting angles and stuff like that, which usually your knee kind of turns around. So it wasn't due to the fact of maybe his body giving away in that sort of sense of without any contact or anything like that. Mid tackle, he kind of paced out like the ACL went in that moment. I think context in that area should say that I believe that if that moment didn't happen, I believe he would have been okay. It wasn't Luke Metcalf fatiguing through other injuries or anything like that to cause this to happen. I think it was one of those freak moments again, which unfortunately certain players seem to have in their game at the moment. When you're discussing, I'm sure we're going to get to the contract talks and try to keep him around, that's always going to play in contract talks as a business in general. You want to get the best value as you can. But I think the other argument to that is I'm sure there's another club out there that is willing to just take the shot on him because they've already seen enough and believe in themselves to say, well, he may get through the full season with us. Tom Trbojevic, with all the injuries that he's had, I'm sure there's clubs out there that will still sign Tom Trbojevic if Manly are willing to let him go, just for the hope that they're going to get a 20-game Tom Trbojevic that's going to take him to the promised land. Luke Metcalf should be put up, I wouldn't say next to Tom Trbojevic because he's upper echelon of player, as in when you look at overall of what that guy can produce. But Metz is got the ability as well to be a game changer for a lot of sides. And as we've seen with the Warriors, with him in and out, consistently the last couple of years, he's been one of the key differences to our side. So you can't go past what he's produced. And I think that he's shown ability that, he's not breaking down due to, let's say old age, or not old age, as in fatigue
he's
issues.
In the prime.
Yeah, it's more so a lot of freak accidents that are kind of happening in his career right now, I believe anyway. So I think context has got to play its part in these discussions as well.
Yeah. Again, his data will hold up. And be careful, Warriors fans. Someone might bag him up. What does Beyonce say? If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Put the ring on the man. Don't let him go, you know what I mean? Yeah. I definitely think he's one of those talents that we need to put. We need to do it, get it done. Now, for how much? Look, I think this is kind of a freakish accident for sure. I definitely agree with that. But the injuries in his mid prime, we're in a window here with him that is, he's not an old SJ, with an ACL. This is a young guy with room to grow.
Agreed.
Get the deal done in the off season. And commit that way. Now you got an opportunity with other players. We'll get into that later, but there's opportunities there for growth as well. And then you might see the rise of a new halves pairing for Metcalfe. Who knows? And that we might talk about that as well. So, and just shout out to our man Josh Hill. Woo! Money towards a Luke Metcalfe recovery program. Let's get him in that ice bath. And to Ash New Zealand. Absolutely, guys. And guys, again, just quickly hit the hashtag I'm in if you want to win a ticket to come to the Wise Up meet and greet for free. We've got spot prizes, we've got stickers, we've got giveaways. free drinks and beverages. Feel free to come here as well. Thank you, Josh, man. We do appreciate you, brother. But yeah, like I think any final things on Metcalf? I think his data shows and what he's done. He's cemented himself as he's going to be our future half or one of the halves for the future.
Yeah, and like, looking over, other halfbacks in the competition, like again, there isn't that many incredible halfback, like, going around at the moment. When a club sees any sort of potential of a guy that they could get, that can completely change their team around the way Luke Metcalf kind of has for us, this year, I think they're going to try and snap him up. And like when we're talking about injuries too, I saw a comment bring up before that he hasn't finished an NRL season with us, for this period and that here. But there's been a period now where Nathan Cleary hasn't played a full season of rugby league as well, and he's been dealing with shoulder issues. He's been dealing with a lot of chronic little issues during his career as well with injuries. So,
yeah,
and no one's ever questioning him with the 1.4 price tag or whatever they're gonna. Teams would pay 1.8 for that man. Even if he plays 18 games per season, like Metz has shown that he again. I don't want to put him up in that echelon right now, but we've seen a guy that's got the mentality and he has the ability to, try and push to those up echelon type of players. I don't want to see that, like, looking at injuries and that and see him go and what could have been, bite us in the ass like it has done before. And last thing too is, I think we're in a key moment that Metcalf stayed with us because we gave him his opportunity. He's produced that to the ability what he's got to right now. I think it's also another little give and take moment here where if we can prove and put an arm around him and say, listen, we believe in you. We're going to give you your money and give you a recovery. You come back and you be the halfback we want you to be. I think you will repay the favor there as well. You don't want to go out and have like a little bit of a bad taste in his mouth if we're just going to be like, well, we might pull some offers here due to the injury that you've had. He's going to be like, well, what happened to the relationship we do have? Like, have I not been good enough for you for that period there too, right? There's relationships at play here. So if we're able to keep him in the good books, he might stay around. Maybe he might take a little bit of unders as well. But if we put an arm around him and say, we believe in you, we're going to get you through your recovery, I'm sure he's going to come out the other end and give for us at the end of the day.
Yeah, man. Fantastic. Hey, guys, we it's great discussion. But we definitely, for me, his data shows and his work, what he produced, fantastic. When you combine it with a good team, not saying, this isn't like Andrew Johns level where you give him crap and he'll find a diamond out of it. But amongst everything being balanced, Metcalf fits perfectly. So great talking points there. Now another unfortunate one for our man CNK. Much love to him. Fortunately, I think it's only a 4-week injury. I think it's an LCL or something like that.
Medial, yeah.
Then we get the battles of RTS team battles going like they usually do right now. I think we're both in the camp of a team, but firstly, anyway, CNK up to this point.
Yep.
How do you evaluate his season thus far? And it's not the end of his season, guys. I'm just trying to. There is going to be a little break in time here where we're not going to have CNK for a month or so. And we might need to just look at evaluating him and saying, fantastic, and can't wait till he gets back, and he immediately fills back in. What's your evaluation of CNK thus far, Ash, based on his season and performance? And
Yeah, I believe incredible, right? Like, again, another one of those players that I believe is very underrated. Even in this game, bro, the way he throws his body into contact and, like, with that first Tony Staggs try over the weekend, we saw that very similar, him throwing his body into Hemu Nuele, of weeks past and end up knocking the ball out of Uele's hands. If that kind of went the way of Tony Staggs as well, that could have been a key moment in the game there too. So his cover defense, his scramble's been incredible this year. His run rate out of the back end is on a different level. Like when we're comparing out of fullbacks in the competition, he's the second best running fullback in the competition with meterage under James Tedesco right now. Like when we look at teams with the Dogs have Connor Tracy, the Roosters have James Tedesco, and the Panthers have Dylan Edwards. They are the prototype of, very consistent, good fullback that stays in the contest week in, week out. We saw Dylan Edwards' performance against the Dogs. CNK has a very similar ability there, probably not to the higher end of Dylan Edwards, but I believe he's right up there where he can compete on every game. And he just has the mentality that we're trying to build into our culture right now. So I think it's been absolutely amazing. So for me, hopefully he's all good. 4 weeks, come back from the injury, feel fresh and ready to go. But there's a key opportunity here for someone that we're going to be speaking of to end up maybe put his name up into discussion to maybe could there be a discussion of CNK maybe in a centre wing, which a lot of people have discussed before, but maybe the time is starting to come very shortly.
I found an interesting stat someone pulled up. I'm not sure where I saw it, but CNK's attacking numbers were a little bit low in terms of, let's say, distribution side of it. And he's been a great distributor. I don't, in years gone by, people displayed his distribution game, and their arguments were for RTS because of RTS's amazing running game. But let's not forget that CNK has had some great distribution. Unfortunately, in this kind of system this year, we haven't seen him on the out the back much, and for whatever reason. But does that play a part into it? And maybe does that call for a Tane coming in? And does that open the attack up even more now with someone Tane who's a bit more fleet-footed, a bit more, he's a speed man in short windows. He's like a Tyreek Hill kind of, like a small bang-bang move type of fullback, as opposed to your kind of your hard and strong type CNK. What do you make of potentially Tane coming in, how that might look?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a different look, and I think that if it was Tane just coming in behind the spine that we have right now, playing with Luke Metcalf and that, I think it's going to look a little bit more different with Tanah Boyd being in that 7 jersey, if he is the one to get that 7 jersey, or Tamani Martin kind of will open up how Tane's going to be used in our offense, right? We got someone like a Tanah Boyd, and depending on his halves partner, he's going to play a lot more conservative. I believe Tane's going to be a lot of the focal point into our back shape, right? And like really opening up 3-on-2s, stuff like that. And his creativeness with his ball playing to really open up in those areas. His run rate's right up there as well. It's not like he takes a massive dip comparatively to CNK. Like he definitely can get out his 200 meters per game when he needs to as well. But we're looking at, out the back of shape. I do believe that Tane's just got a very classy sort of way he sums things up, and maybe that's come from, growing up playing halfbacks and stuff like that, coming through the grades, which was his first sort of position before he got moved to fullback. He seems to sum up numbers really well. And again, when we're making this discussion, it's not saying like I believe CNK for me is still a better fullback right now as in for what he is, but Tane's got the ability to surpass him, especially in the next coming years as, age and stuff kind of, makes its way through with injuries as well. I think that we got someone there that has the ability to play off the cuff, open up the game and have a little bit of X factor, which a lot of people do call for, especially at the back of shape. And again, to your point, I don't think CNK's been bad in this area either. Like CNK's playmaking's been really good for us in years past, especially with Sean Johnson's style of footy as well in 2023. I thought he opened up our attack very well. But when we're kind of comparing these two, I believe I'll give the upper hand a little bit to the playmaking out the back of shape of Tane Tuapiki with the grubber in behind, those sort of moments that Tane has in his game. CNK is more of that very consistent fullback that's just going to hit his hard runs. He's very I just put him up with the Dylan Edwards. Like he plays like Dylan Edwards. He plays like a Teddy. He doesn't really play like a, when I'm looking at Tane's got a little bit more of the Ryan Papenhausen type, probably not as much of the speed, but has the ability to run fairly well. But his playmaking is probably his best ability. He can pop up in many different moments too. So that's probably the differences we're going to see is our shape's probably going to look a little bit different. And we may have moments where Tane's just going to be popping up and causing some really key line breaks and stuff in areas like that.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's just a different view, something to be excited about. And it's not a discredit of CNK. He's carried us in many ways to his yardage work, his defensive work too. So it's kind of exciting proposition and great for him to get a little bit of much needed rest in that period to then come back and say, hey, I'm ready to come back in full effect. You know what I mean? So now just to be devil's advocate, but the RTS call. Will it happen? I doubt personally it will, but if it did happen, how would that influence the team? Actually, if
Yeah.
you think about it, I'll let you say it, but yeah, go ahead.
First of all, it's not going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen. Webby could throw a curveball at us, which he's done in past, but I don't think it will happen. I think that, but if it was to happen, it would look pretty similar to what C&K is like right now, out the back of shape. Probably the playmaking out the back, as we kind of just discussed, probably is not up to the level of C&K, and a Taintua Picky on top of that. But obviously the run rate of Rogers, what he brings to the game, he's going to be real consistent out of the back end. He's going to get your 300 meters per game. He's got the ability to do so, right? And he's got a little bit more of the X factor with his running game side of things. We've seen his defensive moments there as well. So it's not like, he's not an incredible option that we have there and waiting, but I really do believe that he's found his spot in the wing. He's found his opportunities now to impact the game from the wing. I think Webby wouldn't want to take him away from that, especially for a 4-week play with CNK. When you got someone like Tane that he's brought back to Cup to play fullback instead of holding him on the wing in the first grade to play fullback, right? He wants Tane to develop as a fullback, and the only way to do that is to play fullback in Cup and come up when you need to. And I think Tane's the next cab off the rank.
Bro, absolutely been massive, and a lot of same for everyone in the chat. I think RTS has been absolutely awesome. The wing, probably our best backline player overall. Probably CNK, I thought at that point, but
right up there.
But I agree with a lot of sentiments that we got to stick with Tane and the opportunities that will come from it. The opportunities that will come from Roger as well. That keeping him on the wing as a solid. We've seen our wing issues, guys. We're going to get into the backline issues later on, but we need something anchored. We need more anchored positions to stay where they are, so that everyone else can fit in and succeed. So I think keeping Roger there is absolutely bang on, and I'm excited to see Tane. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I was gonna let you end that point, and I got something to say too.
Go. No. I was finished. Actually.
I didn't want to be that guy, but there's a little man that kind of predicted a couple of things to start the season. And there was some long shot calls and stuff like that, like Leka getting the starting spot over Murata, which at the moment is kind of gone back to right. I also did say that at one point Tane might steal the fullback jersey towards the end of the season, and there's a big opportunity for Tane to do that right now. And again, this is not like, you guys know how much I love CNK. I was fighting for CNK to start the season. I still believe CNK is just as good. Like, he's our best fullback right now for the system that we do play. But there is an opportunity here for Tane Chuabiki to show us the future, and for us to continue to push towards that. And due to that center position that we have right now on that right-hand side, just having an interchange of injury players, especially on the wing as well, there's some opportunities there for CNK to get moved into other areas. Tane, Tane's a fullback. Tane's an out-and-out fullback. Played incredible on the wing when he needed to, but Tane's a fullback. He's our future fullback. There's an opportunity there for him to nick it and take it for the rest of the season. And if it plays out that way, I'll be like, I'm very sorry, CNK, for my predictions there, because I didn't expect the injury to cause that. But I'm waiting to see if that does play out the way it is, because it's a crazy season the way it's playing out right now.
It is crazy, man. But love to our brother CNK. It's great to hear it's only 4 weeks. Yep. We know how massive he is. And look, let's get excited about Tane. Let's back him and support him as well. Can't wait for that. Let's get this as a big talking point, and I think this is the core of many of our issues of late. What's wrong with the middles? And the Broncos specifically, I felt, dominated us in that first half. Yep. They came out all games blazing, and I mean, they've got elite talent. Haas and Carrigan, nothing to be dismissive of, and other players like Willison came on and did a number 2, and credit to them. But there seems to be an issue with us of late that we just can't seem to get the dominance that we have had, and also we can't seem to impact it the other way. In the back five have struggled the last few games just to get their yardage. And then the forwards haven't had such dominance. What do you put that down to, Ash? And what are some of the solutions you can think of for that moving forward?
Yeah, I think that, again, it's no you can't hide away from like the last two games. You know, our ruck has been kind of blown out. Like, you know, the Panthers, you know, they came in with a smash and grab mentality, right, over at home, and Moses Leota and the way they impacted that game. Scotty Sorensen, you know, the boys turned up with a real physical game plan. The Broncos just wanted to dig in and do a very similar thing. And it's not like I think Fish is doing his job out there. When I saw over the weekend, Fish was really doing very great things. I think Aaron Clark stepping up in the middle of the field as well as much as he can. But I do think that with Murata, whether it's due to the couple of injuries that he's had for this little period as well, you know, obviously he broke his nose in that Panthers game, came off the field, came back into this one, you know, dropped the ball in the first part of the game. But defensively in moments, it looks like we are losing the wrestle in moments, whether it's a flat spot in our season. I think there is the ability for us to look like, I thought that Jackson Ford, when he came on, had a lot of good moments, especially in that second half. I felt like we started to fight back and win back the ruck. And I thought Dimitri, watching the game back and watching him really closely, I think that he's grown a lot in that area as well, of really fighting over. So maybe is there an opportunity that Maratza becomes more of an impact forward off the bench, and we can maybe start with someone like a Dimitri or a Jackson to kind of win those battles in the middle, especially the physicality battle. Because a lot of that time when we do start winning it is with Fish and a Dimitri, or Fish and a Jackson Ford and an Aaron Clark, right? Like, so for me, that's probably what the areas I'm looking at the moment, to where I'm like, all right, they can clean up in the area with the personnel they have right now. And I'm not discrediting Murata. I think he can definitely fix up in these areas as well. But it's just, yeah, as I said, there's no doubting it. The both games that we had over the weekend, there was moments where we have looks like we've lost the ruck and the ruck speed. And a lot of that came from ill discipline as well, so where we need to clean up. So that's the areas where I'm looking at. I'm really enjoying Dimitri's game at the moment. I would love to see an elevation of his game to maybe become next to Fish and grow that partnership. And these are the areas that we have lost with Mitch Barnett for sure, that he was so key in, right? You know, Mitch was so dirty in that A defender role, the way he was, you know, winning over the ruck, knee and belly, little things that he does. You know, we're just missing that little bit of like aggression that in the middle at the moment. Fish is bringing it, Aaron's bringing it, and even other guys are bringing it in their moments, but more as a consistent time over the game plan. I think when we're playing against big sides like the Broncos, stuff like that, we are starting to get found out just a tad in this area without Mitch Barnett.
Yeah, look, I'll throw this at you as well. A lot of the hot topic is, you know, how Webby uses interchange. A big point as well is that Webby kind of validated his selection of Tamaide, pointing out that when Tamaide came on, he played hooker, then he played fullback, then he played in the halves. Yep. Kind of almost was saying pretty much, hey, I'm right in sticking with Tamaide as my utility. Yep. There is another option too that a lot of fans are crying for Healy to come in for. Look, we got an Egan that didn't get an HIA technically, but he did get a little bit of a knock.
Yep.
We always have that in the back of our heads that Egan looks as though he's one HIA away. And why not have a four-man forward bench where you get that consistency? You know, for example, I don't think Tamaide did particularly well coming on as a hooker. And you could argue, wow, that would have been great for Healy to have those minutes. But then again, the argument, while we're then CNK went down, Tamaide did great at fullback, saved a try from Reece Walsh, and then went into the halves. And you could argue, hey, did a great job there as well. So it's that catch-22, but say if you went with the Tane fullback, and if you had a pinch, could put Tane in the halves and move pieces around and resolve it that way, that could argue to hold a Healy, would you do that? What is your thoughts? I think this is kind of a pivotal choice moving forward, how we choose to deal with, like, I don't think Dimitri and that are going to be solve the Barnett issue. But
no,
we do need to kind of get some grasp of the middle, and you could argue that Sam Healy might be a key piece to maintaining middle dominance. What do you think of it?
Yeah, yes and no. I think like Healy would be incredible, especially for, you know, with a nice interchange that we have with Egan, if there was to really spell Egan. But again, like when we look at Healy, I know, like, his first game in rugby league, he came on in that 13 jersey against the Cowboys, first game in first grade. But, you know, he doesn't suit a 13 for me. Like, he's an out-and-out hooker, like, every time I've seen him. So you're only going to get the impact of him for probably about a 10-minute play, 20-minute play throughout the game anyway. Yeah, for sure, like, his ruck speed in attack and his defense is top-notch, especially for a hooker. But I think with these sort of things that we're playing with right now, it's more of like a forward problem than it is like a hooker rotational problem in my head, right? Like, Tamaita, he opens up the ability to play in all the backline pieces. But those other three members that we have on the bench should be good enough to really hold in that arm wrestle and really fight with that momentum with the ruck. Whether it's maybe looking at a Tannah Smith or something like that, that can really, amplify the middle of the field and kind of win back the ruck as a middle forward. Because when you look at it, Jacko has been an edge back rower, migrated to the middle. Muratani Kore has been a back rower, migrated to the middle. Dimitrik, coming through grade, he's not the biggest middle that we've seen in the world either. An out-and-out middle would be like a Tannah Smith or a Bunty Afoa or a Tom Ale as well, to maybe bring some size to the pack a little bit. Then again, we're saying that you look at the Dogs and look at their pack, like, they're not a massive pack either, and they're able to control the ruck just due to their line speed. So it could be just due to a flat spot in the season where energy might be getting a little bit low after a bye. Maybe there was a little bit of complacency played in here. The boys are maybe just getting ready for a good run home after the bye. They should come out strong, and you probably see an uptick in their tempo. Maybe it is a little bit of that, but I don't think Sam Healy's the major fix to say, like, hey, he's going to completely change our ruck in that area, because you're only going to see him for about 20, 30 minutes a game anyway, and it's not in that 13 jersey, so he's going to be through hooker, which changes that area in that sense. But as I said before, that's 20 minutes comparatively to where I'm noticing it pretty early on the game, fresh. That Broncos team started to get a roll on pretty early on. It wasn't like, that mid part of the game where we end up getting those interchanges in and we start to swing momentum back in our favor. You know what I mean? So I think that Fish probably just needs that key member early on in the game to really control the game on the outset, to when we have those interchanges, we don't have a drop-off in the middle, which we haven't had a drop-off. I believe that just from the outset, we are losing the ruck battle pretty early.
Yeah. Yeah. But, again, guys, it's a tough one. That the solutions for Webby, he'll have to find them within the squad. There's that call for Dimitri. We would love to see that. I've talked about the mental part of the game waning a little bit, maybe on the young pups. It's a grind. It's a mental thing. It's not, your body may be fresh as hell, but if your brain has been through 10,000 different decisions and in such short space of time on the field, you can start to lose a bit of your sharpness. Again, I think there's a little bit of room for these young pups to say we need to still protect them a little bit. At the same time, though, when Dimitrik's given an opportunity to put a short ball for Fisher Harris, he's done a great job. So it's that balancing act of like saying we want the young pups to really get a good shot. And are they ready? We may not know. But if we do chuck them in, they may fall. But I don't think we should ever give too much criticism of the young guys. I think from me and you have talked about Ash, they're actually killing it, man. The three of them in particular, they're actually killing it, bro. And so I think they're actually, fantastic in what they're doing, bro. Anyway, yeah.
And with saying this, bro, like, when we're saying these points right now, when I'm looking at this period that we're having right now, dropping to the Panthers, dropping to the Broncos, I'm just looking at it as like a culmination of the season right now, and how teams go through their seasons, and for a season, that one off season, we've lost the amount of experience that we've had, and the season that we've had so far. It's an incredible season right now, and we're absolutely loving and enjoying it. When we're discussing these things, it's probably to push us back into more of a premiership frame, as in like premiership contenders and stuff, which may come not even this year, maybe next year, years past. Like, these are the lessons we're going to have to pick up in our travel. And we're saying that, for example, right, I had brought up before, just points in the season of like, so in 2024, to get your top four, you had to get 16 wins and 8 losses, right? Right now we're sitting at 10 wins and 5. So, the Sharks and the Roosters in that season to get top four, they had 3 more losses in a period here. Like from memory, I think the Roosters had a period there where they had a decent, like, couple of lost win streaks, right? Losing streaks. And they came back and they learned a lot of lessons there to finish top four. Then looking at the same spot from last season of where every team sit, is those exact same two teams that were sitting in top four. The Sharks were 10-5 and the Roosters were 10-6 and came home strong, and held out for their top four advantage. So even sides that, were incredible sides of years past, sitting in the top four where we are right now, they've found ability to hold on, to learn from these moments and to finish out the year strong. And even if you look at this season, we've seen the Dogs get beat by 40 by the Broncos as well, with probably an understrength Broncos side comparatively to the side we came up against. We've seen Melbourne Storm drop games against the Dragons. This season in general, teams, when they're turning up on the day, sometimes you can have flat spots in your game that you can fix up on. It's not so much as changing players and just saying, hey, the change will work. It's more so just saying it's a long season. The boys may be having a little bit of a dip here. Are they up with the Canterburys? Are they up with the Raiders? Probably not right now. But looking in future years, right, they're going to learn from this experience this year and they're going to get better from it. So I'm looking at this 2 losing block as a learning experience. I'm not too worried. I don't think we're going to lose top four. I know the injury is going to play a key factor towards the end of the season and may suck if we drop out of the top four for sure. But I don't think this is a time to go, the middle's getting completely busted open, we're completely shot, because I think that we got the ability to change this around fairly quickly after the bye, even with Maratini Cordia playing front row, even with, the young boys playing the minutes that they are. I still think they got the ability to finish out the season. So when we're talking about this, it's more of the fact of just areas we need to improve on to get to the next level, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, guys, thank you, everyone in there. Just Hayden, I just said that you are coming to the meet and greet, the Wires game in Mount Smart. If you are coming, Hayden, we'd love for you to type hashtag I'm in, and you can jump in the wall for a free ticket, bro. Come and say hi to us if you're coming to the game. And hashtag I'm in here in the chat, and we'll put you in the draw to win, my friend. Come along. If you'd like to be involved also. Excuse me, guys, my internet is a little bit slow. It may be a bit lagging on my end, so apologies if I'm not reacting as quick as I need to. Ash, you're speaking there, and I'm not sure if you've seen the TikTok from the African guy, the fastest reader. He opens a book and he goes, okay, he's like what's it, Africa's Got Talent. Yeah. I am the fastest book reader in Africa. Sorry, bro. There were some times where the internet was catching up and you're going, so I was just imagining, I knowing you well enough, I kind of figured maybe I got what you said. But please, if I've missed the spot, just ignore me, guys. My internet is playing up. And
you know me way too well by now, bro. You know me way too well by now, so I trust in that.
Okay, people, let's get to it. It is Tannah time, Tanah Boyd time. And look, it's a great opportunity to it's a fantastic opportunity for Tannah. This is a guy that's just been recently on SJ's show. He's a great guy around the club at the moment. One of the hardest trainers, as mentioned by Webby. Whether that was forecasting by Webby to say that Tannah was going to get a chance. If so, if not, Tannah's been patient in his role. We all know his power and his kicking game. He's a professional. He's a seasoned professional. Yeah. Ash, let's talk quickly about Tannah, and what do you think his influence will be on the game if he gets that 7th spot?
Yeah. Oh, bro, I think he's going to be the first cab off the rank to get that 7th spot right now, just due to his form in Cup. He's been incredible this year in Cup. Looking at some of his stats here, 16 try assists, 10 line break assists. Obviously, we're winning pretty much every game that we have Tanah Boyd in Cup right now. Defensively, he's right up there, 87.8%, which is fairly decent for a half. I would also say, I want to preface, this before this as well. New South Wales Cup is a decent level below first grade, NRL first grade, guys. So it is going to have to translate. But from what I've seen Tanah Boyd this season, and this is coming from a guy that, when he came over, it wasn't like I wasn't excited for the signing. I just wanted to see our system probably get to work on him first, because we've seen this guy obviously in the Titan system and not hit the heights as what he was probably first, bestowed upon him coming from Australian schoolboys, stuff like that. The best part about Tanah Boyd's game, and I think people need to understand this as well, is going to be a lot of things that people probably don't see straight away. It's the kicking game. It's how sturdy he actually is as a halfback. He's a conservative halfback. With the player that we had in Luke Metcalf, he had his conservative game, but then he also had the X factor on top of it. Tannah has the dummy and go in his game. He has all those abilities. He's got a somewhat of a decent passing game comparatively. But the best asset of his game is his kicking game. And we've seen that against the Warriors last year in the Anzac Day game, where he kicked for about 700 odd meters and dominated us with the boot. So I think that's the real area we're going to see an uptick in Tannah comparatively to what we've seen with the boys that we got there right now. And not saying that Metcalf and Chanel don't have a good kicking game comparatively. I just think Tanah Boyd's kicking game is up there as like a Jamal Fogarty type of kicking game, which is right up there with the top of the competition. And it's even been spoken about by a lot of halfbacks and that out there, top halfbacks in the game. So I think that we're going to see, especially when we're talking about our ruck at the moment, and, we're losing the ruck in times. Tannah's got the boot big enough out of him to be like a Mitchell Moses type in Origin, or a Matt Burton in Origin, as we've seen with the Blues. If you just get the back foot, we got a boot to get us out of there. Metcalf's done a good job in that area, but this guy's probably got an extra, 10 or so meters onto his kick for the boys to get that rest time for their middle to get down there and to really pin them down. So we're still going to see a very structured game plan. I hope people understand that it's not going to be this big X factor. We're going to see cutouts and see our boys score 30, 40 points per game in that sort of sense. But we may see an uptick into like our long game, and we may end up getting a little bit more points towards the end of the game due to the consistency of the kicking game and just those areas there too, instead of the big moments plays, right? That's not Tannah's game. Tannah's going to be the guy that's going to kill you by 1,000 cuts, and it's due to his kicking game throughout the game. So I hope people understand that. It's not going to be a massive uptick in the attack in that area. I think that's more so going to come from whoever's going to pair him in that 6 jersey, or Tane Chua-Picky if he gets that fullback jersey. But what Tannah brings is sturdiness, and he brings an incredible kicking game that I think we're going to enjoy.
Like, and no criticism of Metcalf, but if you notice, a lot of his kicks would fall on the 20.
Yep.
And that's fine too. I mean, there's no shame in that. And like, for the majority, we've done well. You can't take, but you want those kicks to fall on the 10 or the just short of the goal line. Remember some of those dominant wins we had with Sean. We would just literally pin teams down.
Just booting. Yeah.
And if that's the case, to give that extra 10-meter buffer, you think of a one hit up as 10 meters, you're almost winning an extra tackle each time you get that extra 10 on your kicks. So if that's something to look forward to, and it fits with Webby's game model, we have to see it, and it has to be shown. And like, bang on, like you say, his having the other pieces around him, his organizing sense is, I've been impressed with his short kicking game. There's just speed and tempo of awareness. He's an Australian schoolboys play, all those things in his pedigree should help him. And look, players lose their confidence. Australian schoolboys players can lose their confidence, and maybe this time with Webby, it's helped to kind of mature him, and and he wants to be that half that goes to another level. So I'm excited to see how he goes. I just want to ask you, one of the benefits, and this is probably one of the low-key things that hasn't been talked about, but Metcalf's defense was absolutely fantastic as well.
Incredible. Mm-hmm.
You cannot put a pin on between him and CHT. Defensively, they were fantastic. Does Boyd have that same defensive intensity and ability that's required from 7 in the system to defend as well? What do you make of his defensive work, Ash?
Yes and no. I think that Metcalf's the better defender out of the two. I think stats probably show that. I know New South Wales Cup people will throw up New South Wales Cup stats, but again, I go back to it is a difference between New South Wales Cup and first grade. When we even saw, Tanah Boyd with the Titans, he became the spot of the Titans for a majority of the times. And he's not, again, he's not a bad defender. He's just usually, he's a smaller, nuggetier, halfback. We've had that in past with like the Mason Linos of the world and stuff like that. They get targeted, especially in defense. He's going to turn up. He's not going to put a foot wrong. But when we're looking at who's a little bit better in those areas, I still swing the way of Metcalf. But I think again, he's shown this season that he doesn't really put a foot wrong in that area. So he's not going to be a major dip in that area either. I do believe that teams are going to target him as teams have targeted Metcalf this season. So it's still going to be a wait and see how he goes against some of these boys that are going to target him on a lot of teams' preferred edge of that left edge. But again, I don't see that we're going to have a big drop off in that area either. I think he's going to hold his weight there. Again, when I'm comparing these players, I think that for me, when I still look at it, it's Metcalf for me is a better passer of the footy. He's the better runner of the footy. But Tannah's just got these little intangibles to his game as a halfback, as in the kicking game, probably his tempo game. He's willing to, build a set off, hitting your edge back row, playing off the back of that, setting up for Chanel to play off the back of him. Where Metz was a little bit more balanced, right? Metz was a guy that will, set something and then come back to it a little bit later on. But if something pops up, he's going to pop up and play the X factor type of game as well. So that's the difference we're going to see. Tannah's going to be a lot more conservative. And I hope Warriors fans, when they don't see him go straight away, he's not the sparky guy that a lot of people were hoping to see from New South Wales Cup and stuff. We're going to see a very conservative halfback that's going to open up the game for Taintrell Picky up back and open up the game for Chanel Harris-Tavita or Tamate Martin, whoever they pick in that jersey.
That's a great point too. You want a half that opens up other people, and open up their abilities. If Tannah can do that, that's fantastic too. Let's just take a little bit to the best halves pairing, and this has been a big talking point that people have actually been talking a lot about. Even that Tamate is a great partner for him, and see, some are saying CHT and Tannah. Who do you think has the best balance? I go back to Metcalf and CHT. They're so 50-50 in many ways that it kind of had a great balance to it. It wasn't too overly dominant from Metcalf. In fact, sometimes CHT was very probably organized in his ways and probably took some control at times as well. Now, maybe with the Boyd, we're seeing a half that can really control a game and lead a team around. What is the right balance in the sixth role? Does it change, or do we keep CHT there for consistency? He's been fantastic on his edge, defensively, all that. Or do we go with a kind of a maverick? A perfect example, Tamate throwing the cutout pass to Kossi, even though Kossi didn't catch it. He's going to take those risks for the sake of offensive, risks. Do you go with the TMM in that situation? What would be your thoughts on this? Not so much someone replacing Tannah. I think we all agree that Tannah is going to be 7, but who is the right balance for the 6th role?
Yeah, I've been kind of floating with this a little bit. First of all, I will touch on, I think Webby's going to go with CHT just due to the season that he's had. I think CHT will do a great job next to Tanah Boyd as well. I was seeing a comment earlier before, and I completely agree. I think we'll just see a little bit more of a running game out of CHT. I see the attacking shape being very similar. The shape that we usually run, I'm pretty sure we play near post on the left-hand side. We play long out the back off a block to Metcalf, and Metcalf will shoot it to out the back of that center block shape and run Chanel Harris-Tavita and the winger together to cause that action there. I think that's going to be a similar thing with Tanah Boyd. Yeah. So, I think Chanel's going to have good moments there too. So we're discussing this. I don't think Chanel's going to be a drop-off in that area either. But I think that when we look at, the pairing, I think that Tamate Martin definitely has an argument here as a gunslinging half, that if people want the attacking ability, the real openness of what Tamate, he's like an artist out there, right? He's willing to play that big pass. Do we want to go down that route? Because Tannah will do all the conservative stuff to really open up Tamati Martin to really open up that game. If we go Tanah Boyd and Chanel, we're going to be very conservative for majority of the game. Defensively, we're going to lock teams down, and not to say I think Tamati is an incredible defensive half as well. Like we saw that over the weekend, but
Yeah.
I think that the attacking side of things is going to be more death of 1,000 cuts with that half pairing, where I think that with Tamati Martin, it probably opens up just a tad bit more. I'm still swinging. I probably would still pick Chanel Harris-Tavita right now just to what he's built this season. I think we got to give him that for what he's done and play through Tane Tuapiki as open that up. But I can definitely see the argument to the Tamati Martin, and I'm not going to close my ear off to it because I can see it out in that football field. Every time he's stepped on, his energy has brought an uptick in our attack every time. So I think that there is an ability there that if they go with Tannah and Tamati Martin, we're going to see an uptick in our attack in that area.
Yeah, it's a great point because you got a chance here to build something around Tannah, that pieces that will support him. I definitely agree with you. You could go with a CHT that balances him in a conservative manner, but you got the X factor is actually now the Tane. It's actually something. So you might have enough there to say, nah, look, we've got enough here. And then you have that extra kicking option, obviously CHT with his left foot. That might be enough to say Tannah, CHT, and Tane is your three, and that should get the job done because you get that nice balance of conservativeness. Then if you got TMM as a utility who can come in, and I liked it when he had some ball playing lock options. He kind of came in those moments. I thought were great for Tamati. But yeah, then you still got another backup option in Tamati with a bit more gunslinger style as well. So it's a great point. It's not all on just focusing on Tannah. It's about the right balance between the three of them, should we say, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and like, to that point, right? Like, just running through, like, have we just gone off the cuff right now in my head? We're a team right now that, like, Wade Egan's going to be the one that's going to, open up the ruck and kind of open things up. Tannah's going to be the guy to set in the post here and there. With Chanel, as he's kind of touched on before, with the two conservative sort of type, it allows Tane to play both sides of the field to really open up the opportunity there. We've seen that before when Tane's played at fullback, and we've seen it in the offseason when Tamati Martin played at fullback with the Storm game. That opened up our attack really well, especially, we've got two pivot points on different ends of the field. We play more traditional style. If we play with Tamati Martin, you're going to see Tamati probably take a lot of what Tane does, like, going on both sides as well. So that's an argument towards, Harris-Tavita. But again, with having Tamati Martin as a gunslinger there too, you got to lick your lips in that sort of argument as well, because what he's doing in Cup and what he does when he jumps into first grade, like he did over the weekend, his energy is infectious. And I believe that we saw it last year as well when he took over that 7 jersey. We got we won 60% of our games there with him on the run home, and he did an incredible job. But yeah, again, it's pick your poison, really. It's what Webby will probably look at, and I think he'll go the way of Harris-Tavita to keep our defense and keep what we're building as a system, and then allow Tane to play out the back of that to open out our attack, in my opinion. Yeah,
man, no, absolutely. Okay, guys, that wraps up the Tannah time. We're looking forward to that. It's exciting. Tannah time. That's gonna go off like cookie times. We're gonna have to get Jazz. We got some cookie times coming up your way, man. So guys, hit the hashtag I'm in if you still want to come along. We're about to close the draw. Probably after a few more segments, then we'll do that draw for you guys. Okay. Apparently, I think there's only 2 people at the moment. It's all good either way.
50-50.
We'll get, yeah, 50. Well, they'll both get a ticket each. Saves me having to bring up the spin the wheel. But it's nice to do spin the wheel. So even if there's 3, that'd be fantastic. Okay, and first, I just want to thank my brother Norpeter for love the content, brothers. Thank you, Norpeter. Appreciate it. And we had a good chat, me and the bro, on Instagram as well, breaking down some footy. So it's great. Thank you very much for your support, bro.
Thank you, Butler.
Thanks for tuning in, and I really do appreciate that. Okay, man, let's go now just to my next topic. Are we a back short? And what I mean by this is obviously without injury, sure, you start to go into depth. And we love our brother Koss, but there are, in pivotal games and crunch moments, we're probably just a little bit short in terms of depth and talent to help us get over the line. I thought it was one of his performance. Not to blame everything on him; he had his moments, but now with Dallin with some injuries and probably kicking on in time, Roger, like I know he's been fantastic this year. When does his body break down? Just being realistic.
Yep.
And now with Montoya gone, as we know, do we start to dabble into the youth and really say, hey guys, Sio Kali, Amituanai, or whoever, we're going to bring you guys in next and we're going to really look to the future? Or is there options to say, hey, we've got a bit of money here. We want to get a Dean Mariner at home. Oh, I'm just pulling names out of the hat, guys. I'm not really specifically saying anyone, but if there was an outside back that you were dead certain on to kind of lift the team, who would there be? So are we short, firstly, Ash, to be that competitive side? And if so, how do we do it? Do we trust now? Wait, we've had Dimitri, we've had Laban come through and Leka. That's been fantastic. Yep. Is it time for one of our outside backs who, let's call it what it is, barring Lea Toa, we haven't had really someone in the wings, and fullback from within the club really start to push through. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, so the first question, are we low in that area? Yeah, for sure. Whenever we get to this point, a couple of injuries, this season, just looking at the injury team we got, Ali Leotoa out. That's our centre that could push someone to the wing. Dallin Martinez-Lesniak, our starting winger, obviously out. Chance now out with he's our fullback, but at the periods there, we did run Tane in that winger jersey to do a job there. So there's a reason why, we got Ed Gossi out there doing a job. And again, not putting this all on Ed, but we've seen Ed have, he's good games, and we've seen Ed have some poor games. And unfortunately, just as a consistent first grade right now, he's just not really there just yet. He may take a little bit of time. He may not even get to the point of what we kind of were hoping and praying on. With these young kids you were calling out to, I think people got to understand these kids are going to be taking a little bit more time. Like Sio Gali, he's only just come back from a hamstring injury. He played, I think, 40 or 50 minutes over the weekend. Incredible talent, right? We saw the ability that he had. If anyone watched New South Wales Cup of the weekend, he has, my best way to explain Sio is if you've seen Leka Lasima, we've got a baby Leka, they're similar age. Leka's younger, I'm pretty sure, but he's like Leka, but on the wing. He's got an aggressive running style. He loves his bumpers. He loves getting over top of people, but he's got this real added speed that we saw over the weekend that made me even pull back and go, oh, Sio's got that. I didn't I thought Sio was quick, but I didn't think he was like that. So he's definitely the guy I would be looking at for the future. Whether bringing him anytime soon, I don't see it this year. I want to see him get through a consistent year of first grade because he has dealt with injuries and a couple other issues off field as well that he needs to sort out. Graham Dolfa, we've already tried that in moments, and again, I thought he was pretty poor against the Panthers. So we're kind of going in that sort of sense. Morgan Harper has the ability to step up and play there, an experienced member. We're probably not going to get any big bang upside out of Morgan Harper, but he's going to be more of an experienced member. Got Setu too. Setu 2 does a great job. He's only just come back into our system, so he's going to take a little bit of time to grow accustomed as well. Army Tuanai. So the thing with Army Tuanai for me, I think is a very good player right now. I don't know if I see out and out top grade, he's going to be an incredible top grade player right now. He could probably be a very consistent first grader, stuff like that. So when we're looking at this, even if we go a little bit lower, you got Kahu Kappa that's been in and out of that flag side on the wing. You have Brendan Norris is playing centre, and he's bouncing around everywhere as well. Continue to go for names. Rafael Sio. We're saying all this, all these kids have had the similar sort of issues, injuries, consistency, and they're young. They need time to grow. So at the moment, we are running light. And I do believe that it would be nice, the June 30 cutoff has already happened, so we're not able to go into the market at the moment to really get someone over. But, the club, if they're looking into the future to maybe get some more depth in that area, I would love to see us go into that market for, players that aren't really getting a look into their clubs that they have. As you spoke about, Dean Mariner is a big one for me. I saw highlights of him over the weekend playing Cup. I was like, you are well too good for playing Cup, bro. Honestly, he should be playing some sort of first grade somewhere. So if we're able to get hands on those sort of boys, I wouldn't go Tara Sloan for me. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I think he's got all the ability he possesses, but I think he's a guy that looks like he's pretty settled in Australia. I don't think you could take him out of Australia for me personally, culturally, and just the way his upbringing is. He seems like a player that's very like Gossie, that's a confidence player. I think we need a guy that wants to attack the game. And for me, when I look at all our guys we have there, it's Sio Gali. But Sio Gali is going to take a year or two before we see him in first grade, in my opinion. So, yes, we are running short. We may need to run into the market and try and find something there to cover that in years in the future, but we can't do it right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
It is.
I'm big on a winger or an outside back that can work within Webby's system, that can adapt. Look, I'd love a gunslinger to come here and kind of channel his game like a little bit, but still give you gunslinger moment, X factor moments that you're like, wow, that's why we bought this guy, but still consistently sits within Webby's, type thing.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of the people are just, I just hope people allow these kids to have time. Like, I don't think Gossie's that bad to be like, we need to get him out of there. This is like a travesty. But I do understand the argument. I don't think he can be the consistent one. And again, by our depth, he is not. Like, we got Dallin, we've got Rog, we've got other players that fill in that position before we get to Gossie. But unfortunately, we've gotten a Gossie now. Well, not unfortunately. It feels horrible to say it that way. But, to call it what it is, he's not in our top three, sort of when we're going down our depth chart. It's just at the moment, the way we're playing out. He's one playing out there. And again, over the weekend, wasn't the most incredible performance out there, but we've seen Gossie have good performances and us still get the job done. We've seen Gossie have some performances and still get the job done. For me, the other players that could be stepping up, I just don't see it right now. Like, Sio Gali is the one I'm looking at, but again, injuries have really hampered him. He needs consistent football before we can put him in first grade.
Yeah, man. It's a tough one. Like, we've had that wave of young pups come through. Now it's time for a little bit of outside back. We all love the good beast. Saw Solomon Kata in the chat, a little bit of Connie Harrell. We love we love our Pacific centers. We love our brother. We love to see. Traditionally at this club, we've always loved our outside backs to come in. And if they got that flair, that Pacific flavor, it's always a great thing as well. But guys, we're gonna just do now the draw. We have come to the end of the draw tonight, but we're gonna quickly just set this up. 1 second. Actually, Ash, can you just talk for a little bit? I'm so happy to you know how it is, guys. I don't have all my screens here tonight, but I'm going to sort this out for you. If there's anything you want to talk about, Ash, can you just do that for a minute? I'll get. You're right
there. I see Steve here, obviously with Kalis Patoko going back to that outside back sort of. Kalis has only just jumped back into the Warriors system, brother. Incredible form this year for Flegg. He's jumped at a cup. He debuted in cup last weekend, played incredible. But again, I can't put in a first grader from just debuting one game in cup. I think he's just got to go through his development before we see him there. Like, if I'm seeing anyone here that I'm thinking that we can just chuck in there as an experienced member, if you want to save Gossie the trouble, is more than likely going to have to be Morgan Harper. You're just not going to see an uptick in that area with Morgan Harper, in my opinion, comparatively to Gossie. Like, I think he's probably going to be the safer hands in moments, but is he going to be what people probably expect and what they want out of our wingers at the moment? I just don't see it. And again, I go back to, Sio Gali going to take time. Setutu's only just come back to us. We are in a moment this year, this year, we are down on backs depth. But when we're discussing this, as I continue to say, this year is going to be a progression year to next year. Hopefully Sio Kali's got all these games under his belt to where it was like, all right, we're down on depth. Sio Kali jumps up. He's going to play next year, right? Setu too, he's been back in our system. He could play next year, right? Like, jump up in the next year. Just this year, the way that we've transitioned into this period with Marcelo Montoya moving on, other key pieces moving on, we've just ran ourselves a little bit behind, in that winger, center wing depth. especially with Rocco and Ali Leotoa being in this interchange of injuries, we aren't able to kind of makeshift a winger to really fill in that role just at the moment. So that's the reason why we are in this phase. It may just have to pull through to the end of the season. And next year, when we have these discussions, you're going to look at a Sio Kali and be like, yeah, he's ready to go. Bring him up. You can have that discussion. Right now, Ed Gossie is our best man that we have there right now.
Okay. Thanks, Ash. Thanks for filling in. I'm ready to go, guys. We're going to bring this up for you right now. And it's a 3-horse race. If you can see that there. We have Russ and Lani. They're back for round 2. Soul Nice and the Heartbeats, round 2 as well, I believe. And Lady Hawk. The Lady Hawk is in the building. Here we go, guys. Who is our first winner of 2? Let's have a look here. Spin the wheel.
Let's go.
And we have Soul Nice. Congratulations to Soul Nice. Heartbeat. Congratulations, my friend, Soul Nice. Okay. Let's go for the last 2 here.
50-50.
It's a 50-50 between Russ and Lani and Lady Hawk. What's your favorite color, Ash? Blue or red?
Red, baby.
That's the New South Wales versus Queensland right here. In fact, this might decide who the winner of the actual game on Wednesday is. We'll have a look. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Woo! Here we go.
Oh,
don't put a blue. No.
Blues are going to win next Wednesday night.
But shout out to Russ.
And Lani up the wires. Congratulations. And you know what? Because we are in a kind spirit here at Wires Up TV, Lady Hawk, you have won yourself a ticket as well, guys. So all 3 of you guys, because you entered in, all are going to come to the meet and greet. Please, guys, email me at wiresuptv@gmail.com. I will just quickly type that in at gmail.com. And I will send you guys the links to your tickets. So get it if you've got some time between now and the next few days. Send an email to me. I'll get you guys your tickets. We're looking forward. Me and Ash are looking forward to seeing you. And also Darren Fortune. I don't think Darren Fortune got back to me last week. Darren, his last call for you. Otherwise, I will give that ticket away to someone else. But anyway. Congratulations to our winners tonight. Okay, man. You know what, Ash? I'm going to just do something a little bit different here.
Ooh.
We're going to just do one more segment here, guys. It's an hour and a half. I'm going to be fair to my wonderful whānau and my wife who's given me this wonderful time. But I am on holiday. I can't be doing too much work.
You can't be.
We're going to do this. We're going to do this last segment here. And then we're going to hit some content for you guys because me and Ash are going to come up meeting up on Friday in the real life.
Yep.
And we're going to hit you guys with the last segments that we have. Okay. I think we'll cut it. We'll cut it off just quickly here. And we've got some more content for you guys coming up on Friday. Look out for that. We're going to talk more about the last run of games and a few more things as well. Actually, I'm just going to do this last segment and quickly on the women's game. That's all we'll do right now. Okay. Shamus. Oh man, Shamus. He's a protagonist. He's the hero one time going up against Gus. Now he's come back and he's the villain.
Hey, he's been up for more than he can chew on this one, bro. We're not Gus, bro. We're the New Zealand Warriors fans, bro. We're the whānau. Don't be touching it. Bruh.
Shamus has pretty much done a question and answer on his Instagram, and he's pretty much come out and said it's season done. Season done. No if, buts, ands, or maybes. He said no Metcalfe, no run for the finals. And shout out to the Bro Warrior Holic standing up for our team and appreciate his sentiments. And now it's our time as well to think. I mean, people are calling pretty much end game for us, man. What do you think on Shamus's comments, and what was your rebuttal to his so-called comments?
Yeah, bro. Just crazy. Like, this has come from, like, shout out to the Warriorholic, the way he kind of put it there too. Like, the write-off from Australian media at times on the Warriors, like I can understand. This has come from an Aussie too. Like, guys, if you don't know my story, like guys don't know my story out there. I'm an Australian Warriors fan. I've got no real connection to New Zealanders in the fact of like I've got no New Zealand blood or anything like that. Obviously, my missus' family do have family in New Zealand and Samoa and all that sort of stuff. But like that's all the connection I really got to the club. My connection to the club was due to the players and the football that the Warriors played growing up, and I used to love watch Warriors football. So, but we've always been a team, and this is what Warriors fans go crazy about. In comment sections everywhere, we've always been a team that feels like we're getting pushed to the side. No matter what, we've always been the underdog. We've always been the team that and like. It sucks to talk like this because it feels like we feed into the victim mentality at times, that we do have a victim mentality at times as well. But this sort of comments don't really help to that. And I think we're a better club than this as well to I think that Shemus, I hate when Australian media go down this route and write teams off like this, especially when it's the Warriors, right? I feel like it's a punching down sort of mentality of it. It's like, write them off now. If there was any other team that was in the top four and had the injury crisis that we are having, they wouldn't again, I don't think that we'll be seeing the same comments. I think it would be like the dream run of the Warriors. Can they get it done still? I don't know, bro. For me, I just think it's really unfair. I think it's definitely something to fuel the fire of the boys on the run home. I think it can do so. But it's a similar argument that a lot of Warriors fans always bring up, and it's hard to argue against it when stuff like this always seems to happen. So for me, like, Shamus, even if you do believe it personally, there's got to be better ways to say something like that. Like, say it's going to be tough for the Warriors now to get a premiership or to run home in the finals or to stay in the top 8. It's going to be tough. Yeah, that's fair. But to completely write us off, like, come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. You can't write like a team that's been going 10-5 right now, and we've been building a season the way we have. Like, what's your thoughts, bro? Because like you as a Kiwi, like it's something you've dealt with for a long period of time, especially in the NRL space.
Look, it's just a massive. It's exactly what you say. It's we've heard it for a long time, and it's a blanket argument, blanket statements based on implicit bias of years gone by and all those types of things that people have always labelled us. When in reality, like you say, we're 10-5. We've had 2 tough losses against 2 quality teams. You'll say now with the Penrith and Broncos. It's just a massive disrespect to what Webby's built. It's disrespect towards the players more so. Yeah. Fans, we get it every year. We know how to deal with it, and sure, we can fight up and stand for it. But if I'm a player hearing that, seeing what Shamus has said, bro, bulletin board, let's use that as fuel to really not so much ignite our season. We don't need to ignite our season, but we just need to continue and hold our top 4 spot and say, Shamus, we're here now. Look, maybe in the argument, me and you have talked off and said, look, maybe in the sense of actually winning a title, sure. We understand it. We understand the impact of Barnett now and of Mitch. We're going to Metcalfe. We are going to see that, but in terms of just pure, it's disrespecting the other players in the team. Fish is pretty much saying, "Fish, you're null and void." Like, everyone else, RTS guys that have worked hard to be where they are. So I think it's a massive something we should really go back to this. Clip it up.
Yep.
Let's repost it later on for the year. But I think the boys should just hold to what we've been doing and ignore. It's one of those unfortunate things with the central market, media market is Sydney, and we just have to ignore in many ways. Yeah.
And my key point to this too is like, I think Webby's done such a good thing in the way with the club that he's changed a lot of the thought process of like, things are not going our way, not to blame the referee, not to blame this and that, right? But like as Warriors fans, you're doing that, and then like next minute you see something like this. It's hard as a fan not to get emotional and be like, hey, like, you're counting us out before, even in seeing if we even got the ability to do so, right? Like, it's very similar to, I'm pretty sure earlier this season, and this is a team that usually gets a lot of the raps a lot of the time, so I don't know, this is a little example, but people were writing off the Roosters pretty early off the season with the injuries that they've had, and look at the season they've had so far. They're fighting within the 8, got the ability to finish in the 8, and I think a lot of people would probably still would have them around about the 8 at the moment too. Even when they had Sam Walker and Brendan Smith and all that out. I can't remember who was the journalist that came out and said they're done. And you know, like, I think journalists sometimes are pretty quick to say that. I also think we're in a media phase that is a reactionary media instead of being a very balanced media, to kind of like sit back and just see the land. Like when they see a couple of losses, they want to jump on and be the guy to say, oh, I called that earlier, instead of kind of just running with it and seeing the facts first, right? So I think Shamus just needs to be better in that area, especially when it comes to this sort of stuff. And, you know, as Warriors fans, you know, don't read into it. Like, just keep doing what we're doing. Like, as I said before, I think Webby's done such a good thing to change the club culture, and not looking for excuses, but just continue to try and turn up week in, week out to change those in the future. Because the only way we can do that is prove him wrong. And, you know, and the boys are out there to do that, to prove him wrong.
Absolutely, man. And yep, let's do that. Look, I was big on Shamus calling out Gus, man. Now they're like, nah, get rid of Shamus, man. Get him out of there. Let's go now, guys. We're gonna, like I said, save some topics for me and Ash. We'll talk about them more when we catch up. Let's talk about this amazing, the Wahine.
Woo!
Wahine versus the Roosters. Shout out to the modern Māori quartet for their beautiful waiata. Look, actually, I need to go to my Instagram because the team list guys, and we're gonna, like, for me personally, I'm being honest with myself. You know, I don't know a lot of the girls, but I'm so excited. It's like watching a new sport almost, or, you know, a new TV series. You're learning the characters and you're learning what it's all about. So I'm excited. But just quickly, shout out to Happy Nichols, our fullback captain, Michaela Brake. No longer Bly, but Brake. That's a cool name. Making an NRLW debut. Ikanasio in centre's NRLW debut. Emanita Pake's club debut. Peyton Takimona NRLW debut in the wings. In the halves, Patricia Maliepo NRLW debut. Emily Curtin club debut. Harata Butler club debut. Capri Paiko at hooker club debut. Lavinia Kitai, NRLW debut. Shakira Baker, NRLW debut. Kaya Atai, NRLW debut. And Layshawn Albert-Jones, we know her club debut, with the bench of Lydia Turua Queedley, NRLW debut. Marire Puketapu, NRLW debut. Ashley Matapo, NRLW debut. And Mate Kino Gray, club debut. Yo. Barring Uppy Nichols, who's the only player that's played for the club, we have a whole new squad pretty much.
Yeah,
this is like the first episode of the Survivor series. You know, where you're learning the character. Ash, do you know much about these girls? And if so, what's your thoughts on them? For this game coming up.
Yeah, I know a couple of them. Obviously, the girls that have kind of played NRLW preview, and obviously Michaela Brake. NRL, not NRL, rugby sevens fame, incredible. I can't wait to see her in NRLW. As you guys know, my Mrs. cousin Ivania Belite was a rugby sevens convert to NRLW. She played for the inaugural Warriors side and currently plays for the Titans before getting pregnant. She did the convert really, really well. And I see Michaela doing a very similar thing. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out on the wing. I'm expecting Roger Tuivasa-Sheck numbers on that wing from Michaela. So wait and see how that plays out. Harpy Nichols is a big key one, bro. I think she's incredible for playing in that captain for us to start the season. Being at the club previously for our inaugural years as well, I think it's going to be key to bring these girls through, and obviously to say this is what it takes to be a warrior. I know Parky as well. She came from the Gold Coast Titans system. I've spoken to Vani about her. She's a very, very talented girl. So keep an eye out for her on that centre. I'm not too sure which side she will line up. Maybe on Michaela's side. So do keep an eye on that. I know Harata Butler, very, very talented front rower. It sucks that Maya wasn't able. She obviously, just had a baby as well. Our big signing. She's not able to play for us. I'm not too sure when till. but she'll be a big key part for us this season. A couple of other names that I'm really excited for. You guys already know how excited I am to see Albert Jones there. Usually she plays on the edge, but she's got the ability to play 13. She's got beautiful ball playing skills, decent sized body in the middle. I think she's going to be a real key contributor for our side this year. And the last one I want to touch on is Matakino Brown. Gray, sorry. Very, very talented player as well. So I've been trying to keep an eye on her as much as I can through developments and stuff like that. She's very, very talented as well. But they're probably the big names that I'm keyed in on. But there's still a couple of names that I'm like, I have no clue how this is going to play out. I think they've come through New Zealand Warriors systems and stuff. So very, very excited. Going up against a very tough side in that Roosters side there. Very curious to see Jasmine Strange on that side playing edge back row. Usually she's the centre winger. I think there's going to be a couple of changes there, maybe with Isabel Kelly and that. But tough side to go up against first off. But I think these Warriors girls can definitely stick it to them. At $5.50, I think they are currently right now. Gamble responsibly, guys. But not to say they're going to win this game. But I think I think the girls are going to put up a decent fight, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, bro. It's going to be a good one. I mean, I won't rattle off all the names of the Rooster squad, but it's a stacked squad. Even the Kiwi representatives in there, Otessa Pule, we know she's a massive beast. Then on the bench, even extended bench, you got Amber Hall from I know from the Kiwis, but you got the Olivia Koenigs, Dally M winner, Keely Davis is the hooker there. You got the Surges and Kellys in there. These are fantastic athletes that on their day they're just elite, and I don't want to disrespect our girls, and it's actually fine even if it does blow up. But I think I would still love our girls to compete, and I'm just so pumped to see them just to give it a crack. And who knows, bro? This may be, it could be a surprise because they don't know the talent that well. There's no data, there's no film on these girls. So you don't know how they're going to react. So there might be a little bit of that moment, but I would go in with the Roosters as favourites, obviously, just being off of a premiership winning team and the quality that you have. You probably say that by the end of the game, they'll probably pull away a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the one key thing for our girls as well is also getting the coach of the excellence of Ron Griffith and what he's done with the Newcastle Nightsides going back to back, and that I think he's going to be a key contributor for the girls for the long term for the season. It may not turn out the way we're hoping for the first game against the Roosters for a shock win and this and that, but I'm sure they're going to set a really good platform, and I'm sure Ron's going to get the best out of these girls for the long term as well. There's a lot of great juniors coming through. I'm seeing a Lauati'i as well.
Oh, that's a name we know.
That's a name we know. I think. Gonna keep an eye out some of these girls here. But from the ones I know that came over, Bucky, she's a real talented junior. So very, very excited to see her in first grade. Again, like we all talk about Michaela Brake, I think that she's going to be. It may take her a couple of weeks to get accustomed to NRL. But she's got all the talent in the world.
No, absolutely, guys. And excited to see our wahine. We're hoping they go well. This Sunday, it's great for us as Warriors fans that even though the boys are off, the girls are going to play. You know what I mean? So let the girls play. Guys, we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to save some more content for the weekend. Me and Ash are catching up on Friday, so we'll cover most of our other topics there as well. But just quickly before we wrap up, I just want to acknowledge everyone in the chat. I did see one there from Norpita. How do I become a member? If you go through your desktop, hit the join button next to our YouTube logo and page. You can join there, man. We really do appreciate that. And hit me up on Instagram if you've got any issues as well. But one last thing I want to just say, we want to give a massive shout out to my auntie, wonderful auntie and her family who have accommodated us in Sydney. Auntie Eddie's, massive Warriors whānau, support the team. I had the opportunity to watch the game with Auntie and the family. Shout out to the cousins. It was cool, man. It's great to have in a full house of Warriors fans. Both getting excited, all of us getting excited, feeling the downs as well. And Auntie, and her youthful age, where she is, we talk chop footy. just the whole weekend. All of us
Yep.
chopping. It was my wife was getting sick of it. It was like 72 hours of pure just Warriors talk, but it's fantastic. And I actually got an interview with Auntie. I don't think I posted it up, but it was great to interview Auntie about her journey for the Warriors. And I've just had some great times. I mean, I'm looking forward to catching up with my bro Ash and talking footy in the flesh. So, Ash, any final thoughts from you, my man?
Nah, shout out to Auntie for obviously getting a roof over your head, coming over to Australia.
Absolutely.
You're moving up the coast, which is usually the way to go. You go up towards Queensland and, up the ladder. And hopefully it's up the Maroons coming in next Wednesday and all that. But very excited to meet ya face to face, do some content later on this week, guys. And, get a bit of a feed shout out to Grubbies at Strathpine. Going to be a good little feed coming up this weekend too. So, but yeah. Let's go, the Warriors, girls, bro. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, the Wahine. And then, like I say, in the words of Beyonce, if you like it, then you should put a ring on it. Let's put a ring on Metcalf. If any of you guys are single out there and you want to propose, go and do that proposal. Go get married. Yes, get married, man. In the words of Jagged Edge.
Just do it.
Loves you. Have fun, guys. I'm here on holiday, man. I'm having an absolutely wonderful time. But anyway, fantastic show. Thank you, everyone. We'll come back to you guys during the week for some more pre-recorded. Stay safe, everyone. Up the wahine.
Up the wahine.
Ka kite.